Hi, I'm Sage Hill, and welcome to this episode of the Soulcial Sage. Today, I wanted to talk to you about one of the things that is and has been so helpful for me in my life, particularly when I discovered the benefits of this particular exercise and how it can help us to get in tune with who we really are and how we really feel unashamedly, without fear or shame, just releasing and letting go. One of the major aspects of this journey that we're taking together is to come to a place and a point and a time in our lives where we become comfortable in our own skin. We become comfortable with who we are, confident in who we are, and walking in the purpose for which we were all created. One of the ways that I decompress and come to grips with my feelings and my thoughts about things as they pertain to me and my life is through journaling. And I want to talk to you today about a way of journaling that can help us as we try to deal with the myriad of challenges that we may face at any given point in time in our life, but also, and in particular, when we have dealt with some sort of trauma. I think most of you who have survived any kind of trauma, and trust and believe, as Black women, we have all been susceptible to trauma. Trauma is in our DNA. We were brought here in a way that was not orthodox nor humane. We were sold into a culture that we knew nothing of. Our ancestors knew nothing of. They were fearful. And that fear became realized once their freedom was stripped away from them. And a lot of the ways that they had to adapt just to survive, those traits, many of those experiences were passed down to us. And because we come from them, they are a part of us. Their DNA is intertwined in our DNA. And though our experiences may have been different, that trauma, to whatever degree you may have experienced it, can still have a major impact on your life. Well, what kind of trauma? Well, perhaps it was the way you were raised. Maybe there was some neglect. Maybe there was abuse. Maybe there was just a way that you were talked at instead of talked to. Maybe it was a situation that happened later on in life. Maybe it was a rape situation, a date rape situation. I had that situation happen to me when I was in my early 20s, 23 years old, in fact. Maybe it was an abusive relationship, emotionally or physically. Maybe it was the experience of being Black and a Black woman in this country, and the trauma that we see repeated over and over and over and over and over again. within our communities, whether it's a mass shooting in a grocery store or a Black man being senselessly murdered by a police officer, or the trauma of a child being called the N-word because the person who was trying to get a cell on cable was upset with their response, simply saying their parents weren't home. Being Black in America has its challenges. Being a Black female in America has its challenges. And so what do we do with all of that? I think we just live from day to day. We kind of try to drown out the reality of situations by either ignoring them, burying them, focusing on something else that's a little bit more lighthearted, but never really dealing with what's going on inside of us. Hurtful things that were said. And it's raining. It's storming actually out here. So you may hear a little bit of that in the background. But, you know, some of us have had storms in our lives. And many of the things that we experience, we just bury. But all of those things impact us when we don't deal with them appropriately. And so I want to talk to you about journaling. Look, I keep some kind of a pad that, you know, I can write in, that I can journal in. I keep it. I try to keep something like this near me at all times. If it's here in my studio where I record, or next to my bed at night. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I use notes on my phone. When I tell you I use notes on my phone, I kid you not. I mean, I can go in here and show you, if I can get my phone to work, I can show you the notes within my phone. I mean, it's just on and on and on. I've got all kinds of notes here that I keep. You know, relative to things that come up, you know, to thoughts that I have. And I mean, just on and on. And these are notes that I've taken over a period of time that I don't want to forget, things that I need to talk about, things that I want to talk about on this podcast. But I keep something with me that I can put my thoughts down onto. Because it's a good way of not only reminding yourself, but just capturing your thoughts. So that's one thing. But when it comes to journaling, many people get kind of stuck and don't know where to start. So that's what this episode today is about. It's not going to be very long because I want you to journal at the conclusion of this episode. And I want to talk to you about how to unpack all of those things that you just keep hidden inside, especially when you're dealing with shame, when you're dealing with guilt, when you have had any kind of trauma that you just try to move beyond. At some point, you have to deal with it. I had to deal with it. And until I dealt with it, I had to deal with the consequences of not dealing with it. And sometimes those consequences weren't so good, not necessarily for me, but just maybe even in the way that I approached others and dealt with others. So this is what we do. Each day, you get your journal, get your pen, and you grab your page and you start to write 3 things. The first thing is write down what you're fearful of. And as you're writing it, you're going to feel it. Sometimes you have to really put some thought into it because there are things that you've tried to forget, but they're there. They're still just below the surface. So allow yourself to really be in the moment and to feel, what do you fear? Do you fear being judged by others? Do you fear criticism? Do you feel that somehow you're not good enough? That others don't like you? It can be a whole list of things, that you'll never be successful, that you're a failure somehow. Get all of those fears written down. And after you've written down all of your fears, the next thing that you write down is, what are the things that you resent? What are the things? It could even be a person. It could be a situation. What are you resentful about? It doesn't have to have been something that happened yesterday. It could be, but it could be something that happened a long time ago. Don't you think it's time to let go of that? And that is what this exercise is about. Ultimately, it's about letting go. And the last thing that you do is you do just that. You let it go. And you let it go by releasing it to God, to the higher power, whatever your belief system is. I happen to believe in God. And so I may write something like, I release my anger. I release the anger that I feel towards this situation. And I'll be specific, but I give it over to you. I'm giving it over to you because I know that ultimately you are the author and the finisher of my faith. And I have faith that you did not give me a spirit of fear. And because you did not give me a spirit of fear, I should not be fearful. And I should let go of the anger or the resentment that I have for whatever area it is, because I know it is bigger than me. And I can't carry this on my own. So I release it to you. And when you're finished, you take that paper and you tear it up and you throw it away. And you're releasing. And one final thing I want to say to you, and that's about the fear. I heard Joyce Meyer once say that fear is simply false expectations that appear real. False expectations that appear real. And that is exactly what fear is. Because sometimes we catastrophize and we make the issue much larger than it should be, because we've already determined that the outcome is not going to be good for us. Well, I'm here to tell you that the outcome is going to be great for you. You are writing just another page in this chapter of your life. And together, we're going to release those things through journaling. This is just one form of journaling, but one that I believe is going to be a powerful one in helping you to reclaim your peace, to let go of everything that has been holding you back in your mind, and to begin again, and to learn to lead with your soul. Because that's ultimately why we're here. People can see us for what they see on the outside, but they don't get to know us until they get to know our soul. Thank you for listening. I'm Sage Hill. It's been a pleasure, my treasures.